What he saw through the periscope wasn't something his military training had prepared him for. USS Donnell was torn apart, sinking. 127 American sailors were thrashing in the water. And then, what appeared beside the sinking destroyer would forever change Kapitan-Leutnant Werner Hartmann's worldview. 2 American warships had stopped to rescue their torpedoed comrades. They were saving their enemies. At perfect torpedo range, defenseless. And Hartmann had 3 more torpedoes left. If you enjoy these kinds of real war stories that aren't told in textbooks, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Every day we share history's hidden, forgotten, or censored stories with you. Now let's continue with Werner Hartmann's story. March 12, 1943, 2:31 hours. North Atlantic, coordinates 52 degrees north, 28 degrees west. Water temperature 4 degrees Celsius. Wave height 3 meters. No moonlight, total darkness. U-616 was gliding silently at 80 meters depth. Kapitan-Leutnant Werner Hartmann, 34 years old, was one of the Kriegsmarine's most experienced U-boat commanders. He had been in submarine service since 1939. He had completed 18 patrol missions. So far, he had sunk 8 enemy ships, 4 cargo vessels, 2 tankers, 1 cruiser, 1 destroyer. He held the Iron Cross, and most importantly, he had survived. In 1943, that was an achievement in itself. U-616's crew was 48 men, 22 experienced, 26 rookies, average age 23. The youngest was 18-year-old torpedo technician Hans Becker. The oldest was 42-year-old chief engineer Kurt Weber. All of them trusted Hartmann because he kept them alive. At 2:31, sonar operator Matros, Seaman Friedrich Müller, adjusted his headphones and reported, Herr Kaleo, propeller sounds, distance 8,000 meters, bearing 270, estimated speed 18 knots, probably a convoy. Hartmann climbed to the conning tower. Rise to periscope depth, quietly. U-616 slowly ascended, from 80 meters to 60, to 40, to 20, finally to 12 meters, periscope depth. Hartmann gripped the periscope handles and rotated. Darkness, nothing on the horizon. Then he saw them. Lights, faint but there. Ship silhouettes. Convoy confirmed. 5 cargo ships, 2 tankers, and Hartmann increased the zoom. 2 destroyers. Armed escort. This was a standard Atlantic convoy configuration. Merchant ships carrying supplies, fuel, ammunition from North America to Britain, and warships protecting them. Hartmann recalled his mission orders. Gross Admiral Donitz's directive was clear. U-boats will destroy all convoys reaching Britain. Losses are unacceptable. Your target is not just cargo, but escort vessels. Sink them. The convoy becomes defenseless. 2:47 hours. Attack position. Hartmann completed the calculation. Target: the destroyer at the front of the convoy. USS Donnell, Fletcher class. 2,100 tons. Crew of 273. Armed. 5x5-inch guns. Torpedo tubes. Depth charge launchers. The destroyer was 2,000 meters ahead of the convoy, conducting active sonar sweeps to detect U-616. But Hartmann was experienced. The U-boat was in the destroyer's blind spot, directly ahead, at periscope depth, at the quietest possible speed. Prepare torpedo tubes 1 and 2, Hartmann ordered. In the torpedo rooms, technicians performed final checks. Each torpedo was a G7E electric model, 7.2 meters long, 1.6 tons, 280 kilograms explosives, range 5,000 meters, speed 30 knots. Silent, leaving no wake, lethal. Tube 1 ready. Tube 2 ready. Hartmann locked the periscope's target marker onto the destroyer. Distance 1,200 meters. Speed 18 knots. Angle 45 degrees. The computer, mechanical torpedo calculator, automatically generated the firing solution. Feuer 1. Fire 1, a shockwave. U-616 rocked slightly. A torpedo 1 ton of weight shooting out. Waited 5 seconds. Feuer 2. Fire 2. 2 torpedoes silently submerged into the water, at 30 knots heading toward the destroyer. The crew was silent. Everyone knew. Now they had to wait. The torpedoes would take 2 minutes 20 seconds to reach the target, and during that time, the destroyer's sonar could detect the torpedoes. It could maneuver. It could launch a counterattack. Hartmann looked at the chronometer. Seconds passed. 30 seconds. 60 seconds. 90 seconds. Then, boom. Underwater, the pressure wave was felt. Powerful, sharp. "Trevor! Hit!" someone shouted. Second explosion, boom, larger. "Zwei Treffer." 2 hits. Hartmann turned to the periscope. What he saw, USS Donnell, hit amidships, burning brightly. The ship seemed split in 2. The bow was rapidly taking on water. The stern was fighting the incoming water. "Destroyer sinking," Hartmann reported. "Crew abandoning ship." The crew cheered. "Hoch, hoch, hoch!" It would be reported to Berlin. Another destroyer sunk. But Hartmann kept looking through the periscope. Because the war wasn't over yet. 0252 hours. What he saw through the periscope. USS Donnell sank in 6 minutes. A quick death. Too quick. Most of the crew didn't have time to abandon ship. The explosion had hit the engine room in the middle of the ship. Fuel tanks ruptured, oil spilled into the sea, and fire spread to that fuel. Hartmann watched through the periscope. In the water, 127 men. But not just in the water, in burning water. Oil was aflame on the water's surface. Men were screaming as they swam. Some were burning, literally, their bodies on fire. Some were becoming paralyzed from hypothermia. The water was 4 degrees Celsius. Survival time, 15 minutes. Hartmann had seen this scene before in 1941, when he sank a British tanker. The same scene. Then, he had pulled away from the periscope. "Mission accomplished," he had said, and dove. But this time, something was different, because 2 destroyers from the convoy, USS Fletcher and USS Nicholas, turned back. 254 hours. Unexpected scene. Normally, when a destroyer was torpedoed, other destroyers in the convoy would react like this. Immediately begin searching for the U-boat. Sonar sweep, depth charges. Continue protecting the convoy. Primary mission, protect cargo ships. Rescuing survivors is secondary. War rule, mission first, rescue later. But USS Fletcher and USS Nicholas did something different. Hartmann watched through the periscope. 2 destroyers were heading rapidly toward USS Donnell's sinking point, but they weren't searching for the U-boat. They weren't dropping depth charges, they were just stopping. They were slowing their engines, stabilizing their positions, coming alongside the men thrashing in the water. They were throwing ropes, lowering boats, rescuing. Hartmann couldn't believe it. Was machen die? What are they doing? He muttered. Wachoffizier, Watch Officer Oberleutnant zur See, Hans Krüger looked through the periscope. Herr Kallo, they're conducting a rescue operation. But the U-boat is still here. They know this. Yes, Herr Kallo, but they're rescuing anyway. Hartmann couldn't understand. Tactically, this was suicide. 2 destroyers had stopped motionless. Engines slow. Attention on the men thrashing in the water. Sonar sweep minimal. At perfect torpedo range. A single torpedo shot could sink USS Fletcher. 2 torpedoes could sink both destroyers. Total loss, 600 plus American sailors. And Hartmann had 4 more torpedoes. 256 hours. The moment of decision. Hartmann didn't look away from the periscope. What he saw, American sailors pulling their burning comrades from the water. With ropes, with boats. Some risking their own lives, jumping into the burning oil ocean to rescue men. One scene burned into Hartmann's mind. An American sailor had reached out to a man burning in the water. The man was screaming at Bimale, his body was on fire. The American sailor grabbed him, pulled him underwater to extinguish the fire, then surfaced and carried him to the boat. The man was saved, but the rescuing sailor's arms had also burned, 2nd-degree burns. Hartmann would never forget that moment for 30 years. Kruger quietly asked, "Herr Kallo? Orders?" Hartmann's hand was next to the torpedo firing button. One movement, saying fire would be enough. 2 torpedoes, 2 destroyers, 600 dead. What was the order from Berlin? Destroy enemy ships. Show no mercy. But Hartmann looked through the periscope. What he saw weren't ships. They were humans. Humans rescuing their enemies. 45 seconds passed. The crew was silent. Everyone knew their commander was making a decision. Then Hartmann spoke. His voice was low but clear. Tiefer gehen, 80 Meter. Go deeper, 80 meters. Kruger was surprised. Herr Kallo? Tiefer gehen, jetzt. Go deeper now. Aber die Zerstörer. But the destroyers. Hartmann turned to Kruger. His eyes were tired. Ich habe einen Befehl gegeben, Oberleutnant. I gave an order, Lieutenant. Kruger saluted. Jawohl, Herr Kallo. U-616 moved away from the periscope, began diving. 20 meters, 40 meters, 60 meters, 80 meters. Silently, it withdrew. 0317 hours. Questions among the crew. U-616 was at safe depth, moving silently. Sonar showed the American destroyers were 5,000 meters away, still conducting rescue operations. In the torpedo rooms, technicians were talking, in low voices, but Hartmann could hear. Why didn't we fire? 2 destroyers, perfect position. Easy target. Maybe the commander's waiting for a bigger target. But Chief Engineer Kurt Weber knew the truth. He had known Hartmann for 3 years. He could read his face. Weber climbed to the conning tower. Herr Kallo, are you available? Hartmann nodded. Weber spoke in a low voice. The crew is wondering, why didn't we attack? Hartmann didn't answer for a long time. Then, because they were unarmed. But they were destroyer warships. Yes, but at that moment they weren't warships. They were rescue ships. Weber tried to understand. International law? Geneva Convention? Hartmann laughed. A bitter laugh. No, Kurt, the Geneva Convention doesn't apply to submarines. We're outside the rules. He paused. I just couldn't. Why? Because they were rescuing their enemies, and I cannot kill people conducting rescue. Weber nodded silently. I understand. Berlin won't understand. Berlin doesn't need to know. Hartmann looked at Weber. What will we write in the report? We saw 2 destroyers but didn't attack for ethical reasons, Weber thought. Then, in the report, we'll write, after destroyer attack, enemy destroyers conducted active sonar sweeps. Detection risk was high. Strategic withdrawal decision made. Technically true. Hartmann smiled for the first time that night. Kurt, you're not just a good engineer. You're a good diplomat. March 14th, 1943. Report to Berlin. Hartmann's report reached Kriegsmarine Command. The report stated, March 12, 1943, 0247. Attack on North Atlantic convoy. 1 American destroyer sunk. USS Donnell, Fletcher class. Estimated crew loss, 150 plus. Enemy escort ships launched active counterattack. Due to sonar detection risk, tactical withdrawal conducted. Torpedo stock, 4 remaining. Crew morale high, fuel 60%. Continuing. The report was approved. Berlin sent congratulations. Gut gemacht, U-616, continue. No one knew the full story. No one knew what Hartmann saw through the periscope. No one knew what that 45-second decision meant. Only Hartmann knew, and that knowledge would haunt him for 30 years. April 1943, May 1945. The rest of the war. Hartmann sank 3 more ships during the rest of the war. Total of 11 enemy ships. A good score. But below the Kriegsmarine average, the best U-boat commanders were sinking 30-plus ships. In May 1945, Germany surrendered. U-616 was surrendered at Bergen Harbor, Norway. The crew was taken prisoner. Hartmann was sent to a British interrogation camp. During interrogation, a British intelligence officer asked Hartmann about U-616's attacks. March 12, 1943, USS Donnell. Was that you? Hartmann said yes. We know. Torpedo signatures match. The Brit opened the file. Something interesting. That night, USS Fletcher and USS Nicholas were conducting rescue operations. You were there. Why didn't you attack? Hartmann was surprised. How do you know this? Sonar records. USS Fletcher detected a U-boat 1,200 meters away, but no torpedo came. The commander said ghost contact. But we know. You were there. Hartmann remained silent. The Brit leaned in. Why didn't you fire? Hartmann didn't answer for a long time. Then, because they were rescuing. And I couldn't kill them. The Brit leaned back, took notes. Interesting. Most U-boat commanders don't think like that. I know. You're different. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just weak. The Brit shook his head. No, you're not weak. You're human. 1946 to 1973, post-war. Hartmann was released in 1946. He returned to Hamburg. The city was destroyed. British bombing had devastated Hamburg. His family was alive, but his house had burned. Hartmann began working on commercial ships, first as first officer on cargo ships, then captain. In 1960, he took a regular position with Hamburg America Line. But every night, he had the same dream. USS Donnell sinking, men burning in the water, and those two destroyers, ships conducting rescue. In 1968, Hartmann consulted a psychiatrist, Dr. Friedrich Baumann. I can't sleep, Hartmann said. There are dreams. Dr. Baumann asked, what kind of dreams? From the war. I was a U-boat commander. The ships you sank? No, the ship I didn't sink. Dr. Baumann raised his eyebrows. Will you tell me? Hartmann, for the first time in 25 years, told the story. USS Donnell, 2 destroyers, rescue operation, 45-second decision. Dr. Baumann listened. Then, so why does this bother you? You did the right thing. But the order was to attack. But you did the humane thing. But I was a soldier. I should have followed orders. Dr. Baumann leaned in. Mr. Hartmann, I'm going to ask you something. That night, if you had fired, 600 men would have died. Now some of those 600 men are alive. They married, had children, lived their lives. Doesn't that have value? Hartmann remained silent. Dr. Baumann continued. You didn't commit a war crime. You prevented one. But you won't forgive yourself. Why? Because I was a German officer, and German officers follow orders. No, Dr. Baumann shook his head. You chose to be human, and that doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. 1973. The letter. June, 1973. Hartmann was at home in Hamburg checking the mail. There was an envelope, American stamp. Inside, a letter. Dear Kapitan-Leutnant Hartmann, my name is Charles Morrison. In 1943, I was serving on USS Donnell. I was wounded in the torpedo attack, but USS Fletcher rescued me. For years, I wondered what happened that night. How did I survive? Why weren't USS Fletcher and Nicholas attacked? Last year, I spoke with a retired British intelligence officer. He told me your story. U-616, you were there, you didn't fire. I'm writing to thank you. You saved 273 American sailors. I'm one of them. Now I'm 53 years old. I'm married. I have 3 children, 2 grandchildren. They all exist because of the decision you made that night. You were my enemy, but you're the person who saved me. Thank you. Charles Morrison, USS Fletcher, retired. Hartmann read the letter, and for the first time in 30 years, he cried. 1978, Kiel Maritime Museum. Hartmann was 69 years old, retired, but the Kiel Maritime Museum invited him to an event, U-boat Commander's Memorial Day. Hartmann attended. At the museum, there was a model of U-616. Next to it, a plaque, U-616, sunk 11 enemy ships, served heroically. At the event, a young student asked Hartmann, "Herr Hartmann, what was your hardest decision in the war?" Hartmann thought, then, "Not firing." "What do you mean?" "In 1943, 2 American destroyers were at perfect torpedo range. I could have attacked. But they were conducting a rescue. They were saving their enemies, and I couldn't." Why? Because at that moment, they weren't enemies. They were humans. The student was surprised. "But you were at war." "Yes, but war doesn't have to kill humanity. Kill." 1988. Werner Hartmann died on March 19, 1988. He was 79 years old. Heart attack in Hamburg, quietly at home. His funeral was small. His family, a few old sailor friends, and an unexpected guest, an American, elderly, in his 70s. After the funeral, the American approached Hartmann's son, Thomas. "My name is Charles Morrison," he said. "Your father saved my life." Thomas was surprised. "How?" Morrison told the story. USS Donnell, U-616, Hartmann's decision. Thomas cried, "My father never told me this story." "Because he was ashamed." "Why? He did the right thing." Morrison nodded. "Yes, but that generation saw choosing between duty and mercy as weakness. But it's not. It's strength." Morrison pulled something from his pocket. A small locket. Inside, a photograph of USS Donnell. "I wanted to give this to your father, but I'm too late. I'll give it to you because this is his honor. He acted honorably, even as an enemy." 2003, archives opened. German Naval Archives opened war documents to the public. Historians examined U-616's reports. Dr. Heinrich Müller noticed an anomaly. March 12, 1943 report. Tactical withdrawal. But sonar records showed U-616 wasn't detected. Why withdraw? Müller dug deeper. He checked British archives. He found USS Fletcher's report. Possible U-boat contact, but no attack. Reason unknown. Miller contacted Hartmann's family. He learned the story. He saw Morrison's letter. In 2005, Müller published an article, "The U-Boat That Didn't Fire, Ethics in Submarine Warfare." The article went viral. Media interest exploded. Hartmann's story became international news. 2024, The Unforgotten Decision. Today, at the Kiel Maritime Museum, the U-616 model still stands, but beneath the plaque, new text has been added. March 12, 1943, Kapitan-Leutnant Werner Hartmann refused to fire on 2 defenseless American ships. 273 American sailors survived. This is one of the war's least known but most honorable moments. Every year, retired American naval officers visit the museum. They pay respects before U-616 because that submarine is the submarine that saved their lives. And Werner Hartmann, his name went down in history for the ship he didn't sink. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not firing. What he saw through the periscope haunted Hartmann for 45 years. But in the end, he understood. That night, he didn't lose a war. He won his humanity.